So my question is, I'm an in-house route setter or I'm a chief setter somewhere. I've got a team and we have this idea to put together. We just bought this. We just bought the simple crack system. How can I make it accessible and fun for everyone? I want to know angles. I want to know what to do around it. I want to know how to direct my setters. What can I do?
It's a good question. It's a very good question, because I see setters in gyms get cracks and then they don't necessarily know what to do with them, and then they just stick them through like a big roof or a steep overhanging section, and it's not very customer friendly. The level of crack climbing in general compared to normal style of climbing in your indoor setting is at a slightly lower level. So that's what we've got to cater for when we're looking at our commercial setting.
We do tend to get excited.
We get excited.
I mean,
get excited.
You open the box, you take everything out, it's like Candyland again. And it's also something new for us, like we want to test ourselves as well. So it's kind of normal to get a little bit overboard.
Well, let's first of all think about the angle.
Yeah, that's the first thing you think about, but why we always end up in the steep? I don't know, because it's the more attractive.
It maybe is more attractive, but I think for purpose sake here, we're thinking a nice, easy intro to crack climbing for somebody. We've got to think like vertical wall, really.
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily need to go slabby, but I think we want to stay off the overhangs.
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's too brutal, too strenuous if you don't know how to jam. What you want to do is you want to like guide them into it, you know, give them a few extra holds around the crack, like ease them into the jam, make them feel like they're jamming when there could be other options and they have other options around.
So, okay, we got vertical wall. Do not fixate too much on the crack itself. Build around it.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it's also going to look good.
Yeah.
It's going to look nice on the wall, but that's an easy with these nice holds that we have.
Yeah, true.
The other thing is we've got to make sure that it's, well, as with any setting, that it's nice and safe.
Yeah.
But we can get onto that when we start putting things on the wall, you know, not making jams too passive.
True.
But also
what do you mean by passive?
Passive, we don't want to make them what we call a bone locker.
Okay.
So by that, it's, when we say jamming is like, we're actively doing something. We want to actively jam, like actively expand or twist or turn that body part into the crack.
Okay.
What we don't want to do is we don't want to like rest completely on bones and get body parts wedged or stuck in there. We want the customer, the user, to actually have to actively engage within the crack.
Okay, so one thing is when I'm testing, I will need to consider, as soon as something feels bony, let's say like I'm on the bone, I need to move away from that and consider always the feeling of being on meat, like on this part of my hand, on the palm, or these sort of things. Like, how can I translate that feeling to a set? Like, this is not okay for this reason because it feels like that.
If you're not actively doing anything with your hand, you can kind of wiggle it in the crack. It's like way too passive.
Cool. Yeah. That's perfect.
Whereas if you actively have to do something, let's just keep it simple. If you actively have to hand jam, and if you stop doing the actions of a hand jam and your hand slipped through. Okay. Perfect. Cool. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to make a hand jam, and if we stopped doing that hand jamming motion, our hand stayed in the crack. That's bad news. Okay. So that's what we want to aim for.
Yeah, I can work with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
With that in mind, when we're setting for this lower level climber, we want to think about that, and we can add some kind of undulations, constrictions in the crack. It's not that we can't add these constrictions, but we just have to be really careful that they're not too aggressive constrictions. Okay. By aggressive, like they're not too like horrendously V-shaped, so you get that kind of passive jamming.
That's something that we take into consideration in setting regardless, like narrow angles, stuff where we can get stuck with volumes and stuff. So that is something that we kind of are aware of, but it's good to know in this context what to look at and what to look after, let's say.
we want to think about the size of the crack as well, and and by size I mean the width, and what is kind of accessible for your customer coming into the gym. So if we think through the size range, then we're thinking, we're really, to get that customer involved in the crack, we're thinking hands.
Okay.
Like hand jamming, your staple, it's the staple of a crack climber's diet. It's what we always teach when we teach crack climbing. It's what we teach first. And also it's one of the easier techniques. You know, you wouldn't put on the wall like a ring lock crack, just because a ring lock crack compared to a hand crack is much harder. Just the techniques are harder. So we want to think about crack climbing, the easiest techniques available. It's going to be a hand jam.
So in a way, we want to go reasonably thin?
That's another good question, because everybody's hands are different sizes.
Okay.
So we want to try and cater for all sort of hand sizes. So those with smaller hands and those with larger hands. So on a problem that we're going to set on here, I would just go for a mixture of everything from what is standard thin hands to slightly cupped hands. And that would cover the range for everybody to find a perfect hand jam somewhere. And then some people are going to have a more difficult time on some sections, some people are going to have an easier time on some sections, but people are going to find the easy section for them on that boulder problem. Okay.
Should we start putting something on the wall?
We should start putting something on the wall.
We start from the bottom.
Start from the bottom and work to the top.
Okay.
We've kind of drafted it out on the floor of what we want. We kind of want to make it look interesting. So we have the obviously like the crack units. We have the end units, and within the crack units we also have the adjusters. So my thought is to start setting on one side, keep the adjusters on the right, and then we can alter the width afterwards.
Nice.
And to make it sort of like look a bit more interesting and also climb slightly easier, then we're going to mix in some other holds. So we're not just going to have the crack, we're not going to have pure jamming, we're not going to have the customer with hands and feet both in the crack, because for a beginner going into crack climbing, that's just is way too much for them to think about. We want it to ease them into it. So on some sections we might have them doing some hand jams, come outside the crack,
we're giving them options.
Foot jam, we're giving them options, Nice.
Yeah. Happy?
I'm happy. We've finished the creation of an easy, accessible crack climb. Okay, yeah, so we did go with a fist, but the key thing is that you are stepping on it, but you're not jamming your foot into it, and that's the difference. So like the fist jam, this fist jam, you can kind of easily kind of slip out of it. And also you're not like wedging your foot into a crack, so it's going to get stuck. Because the key thing is when you're putting your foot into a fist crack, if we imagine that was a fist crack, and you're wedging it in like that, and the crack is like trapping the side of your feet.
I see.
We're not really getting that with there. So I'm confident that it's a safe
we are on the
foothold.
Yeah.
And then we've also got some like normal hand jams at the bottom, and then for people with smaller hands, then we have like the hand jam section at the top. So we're catering for both
a little bit of
people.
everyone.
Yeah. Cool. So people with bigger hands are probably going to find the top harder. And people with smaller hands are probably going to find the bottom harder.
Nice. After the session yesterday, where I could barely pull on, and today I got to the top, I guess we managed to set a crack for a beginner friendly, commercial friendly. What do you think?
I would say it was a big success because we set a range of different techniques. We had thumb up, we had thumb down, we had fist, and it was a low, amenable grade for somebody who wants to try crack climbing for the first time and just sample it. It enables them to get off the ground, and it gives them a variety of techniques to practice. So there we have it. We definitely managed to set a nice commercial crack for beginners or people wanting to get into crack climbing. If you want to hear about the do's and don'ts about crack setting, then that is going to be in the next video, so stay tuned.